They can't see chat.
Check the live feed. You can see the board.
Oh no, this is dead.
No, I didn't grab it.
It was quite interesting.
Oh yeah, he must have said that.
Can I go here? Am I there?
Wait,
Dad, look, I ate this.
Piece of what?
This, I'm eating this. No, I didn't.
About time you finally saw that. You know how long I've been looking at that?
Try and feed him.
Like a fish. One thing that
Actually, that's
Have you got both my bishops? Oh no, this is.
no. I don't care. I'm
when you
not.
go to the other side, you both can choose.
You can put your hands on something. No,
learning.
No, he doesn't.
so we're not in the same row.
I'm just kidding. She had
Oh.
So,
her, I put it first.
in that sense, they're left. They don't care about what.
Seriously, man.
Did you like it?
Oh yeah, Pagans. Oh,
You're a good player.
I tell everybody about it.
It wasn't on Netflix either.
No, it was on Foxtel.
I fall asleep in the lounge room. Four kids are in another room.
Are you serious? I didn't even see that.
He had to sit on the floor. Grace and Ruth were spooning in Samuel's bed and Thomas said they all watched the movie. Oh, I haven't seen
No,
it.
so, okay, I was on Dad because Dad was on the TV in the lounge room, so I went to the TV, and they weren't home, so I started watching, and I was like, oh, Grace, do you want to watch a movie? So she came with me, so we're sitting on their beds, and then Tom and Sam came home, and then they got stuck watching, and Tom's like, I need to go to sleep, but he couldn't go to sleep because of the TV, so then all four of us sitting there watching the movie.
He's really precious about his sleep time. So like, the other guy was like, I'm 2 minutes later, but we'll start charging people the door.
That's why I'm not.
Seriously.
I don't understand.
So you thought it was too pagan? Is that what you're
No, I
saying?
call them pagans.
We watched it without them.
Well, they watch it without me. I've never seen it now, will I?
Come on, you know how many stupid moves I've done? Why did you get a chance to go back? Yeah.
No. She's like, did Jesse really watch this? Like, what, did he hire it?
Yeah, but I don't leave. I don't not leave
You
the.
have to buy it or rent it.
Okay, you ready?
Hurry, hurry.
Don't
Make a move. Don't worry.
You came to the wrong place.
You've always got
You forfeit, do you?
Yes, I did.
Make a move then. Come on, quick.
Why don't we just leave like
He does have two sisters.
we'll leave it like that, right?
Yeah.
We're not going to get Sam to get a teenager now since he come home.
Too loud.
Test 1, 2, 2 loud, 2 loud. We are
Too loud.
Are we recording?
Yep.
Too loud.
Live and leaving. Alright. Can I get one of those chairs behind you? This one? Yeah, one of those. Oh, you can have one. Alright.
two more behind.
Next time, not that big.
My broken butt cheeks.
Well, I have to go up.
Where's the anointing?
Because the old ladies get tired and,
And then don't study.
I don't wear dresses often, but then again,
All
before I
right.
came to Europe, I never wore skirts.
It looks nice, it suits you, this dress.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
It's your style.
I was saying to fans, I feel so weird. It's not my style.
Ah!
Kol neshama v'chalev yah. With my whole soul, I will praise Yehovah. Hallelujah. All right.
You're gonna write it down and break it down. That's my style.
It's not part of the study today. So we're continuing from last week. I think we went through 3 lines of the study so far. That's good, huh?
Yes.
Touched onto a lot of different things. The priesthood. We discussed Melchizedek of Melchizedek.
King of righteousness.
King, my king is righteous. Melchi, with an I, possessive my king. Zadik is righteous. Melchi Zadik, my king is righteous. So that's usually translated as king of righteousness. That's actually wrong. It's my king is righteous. Melchi Zadik. And we have discussed Kohens, the descendants of Aaron, descendants of Kohath, from the priesthood. And we discussed the Levites, the 3 types of priesthood that are on the earth at any time. We said Messiah was a priest unto the order of Melchizedek, which we find in Hebrews. However, there's a big debate as to his lineage and priesthood, because they think, I need the pad. Okay.
I'll get it for you.
Yeah. Thank you.
You want to take my jet foot? Sorry. I hope it's got charge.
I hope so too. There's a big debate as to the origin of Melchizedek. There's all kinds of conjectures about it, and we've been discussing with Aaron during the week as to the identity of Melchizedek. Jewish belief puts Melchizedek as the son of Shem. So, the son of Shem. Who was Shem?
Son of Noah.
The son of Noah. Noah. Right? In that text, we were talking about Noah being the 8th, a preacher of righteousness. There's a lot of debate on that one as well. So, if you like to read more on that, there's plenty of stuff online. My position is that, my personal belief is that Melchizedek was in fact Shem. Christianity puts Yeshua as Melchizedek, the eternal priest who was there in the time of Abraham, because of a scripture that says that he had no father or mother. So we can look at some of that today if you like. Let's read Revelations 5:10 again to begin, to refresh.
Can I read? Pablo.
Yeah.
Can I read?
Yeah, sure.
And made us sovereigns and Kohanim to our Elohim, and we shall reign upon the earth.
Yep. So he made us priesthood, a priesthood people, a people of priesthood, which goes together with that other text in Exodus. So we read all that last week. Now what's interesting is that many people claim that we already are that priesthood. And I put forward the fact that Messiah says, Isaiah says that Messiah would select priesthood to be Levites from among his brethren when he returns. So the question is, if we are Melchizedek priesthood now on the earth, and Messiah is choosing Levites, well, where are those Levites coming from? Because we already have a priesthood, right? So if we already have a priesthood, then why would we change from one priesthood to the other? You know what I mean? Since the Messianic priesthood is that of Melchizedek, why would we go back to the Levitical priesthood? You know what I mean? So there's a conflict there as to when Messiah returns, he will choose some to be Levites. So where does that leave us as priesthood? Are we then the priesthood now?
No.
My view is that we're not there yet. Are we there yet?
Well, because we haven't been anointed yet.
Exactly. There's a couple of things that happen at the giving of a priesthood. There is a proclamation that is given towards that person as a priest. When Messiah went to the Jordan River, it was Yochanan, John the Baptist, who proclaimed, "Behold the Lamb of God that takes away the sins of the world." Right? And then he said, "Him you should follow, him you should obey." Right? He said that to his disciples. So, who was John? Who was Yochanan? In my view, Yochanan was the righteous high priest of the time. Right? We see his father at the temple, offering incense. You come in 7?
4 more. He just wants to be blessed because that means a lot in his life.
7 times. So we see John the Baptist's father at the temple offering incense, and that would happen in the holy place, inside in the altar of incense inside the holy place. So only a Kohanim could go in. Only a high priest could go in. Hebrews 7:3. Let's have a look at that one. Yep, read it.
Without father, without mother, without genealogy, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but made like Ben Elohim. He remains a Kohen for all time.
Right. So, let's read from a bit before that now, so that we can get some context. Let's read from verse 1. And we'll finish at verse 10. 1 to 10.
For this Melchizedek, sovereign of Salem, Kohen of the Most High Elohim, who met Abraham, returning from the slaughter of the sovereigns, and blessed him, to whom also Abraham gave a 10th part of all, first of all translated as sovereign of righteousness, and then also sovereign of Salem, that is, sovereign of peace. Without father, without mother, without genealogy, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but having been made like the Son of Yehovah, remains a Kohen for all time. Now see how great this one was, to whom even the ancestors Abraham gave a 10th to the choicest. And truly those who are the sons of Levi, who receive the kahuna, the priesthood, have a command to receive tithes from the people according to the Torah, that is, from their brothers, though they have come from the loins of Abraham. However, the one whose genealogy is not derived from them received tithes from Abraham and blessed the one who held the promises. And it is beyond all dispute that the lesser is blessed by the better. And here it is, men who die that receive tithes. But there it is, someone of whom it is witnessed that he lives. And one might say that through Abraham, even Levi, who received tithes, gave tithes. For he was still in the loins of his father when Melchizedek met him.
Okay, so we got three things given to him as titles. Hopefully you can read that online, priest. Now,
Is that why you think it was Shem, because of his long life?
because what?
Because of his long life. He lived longer than Abraham.
Yeah, of course he was longer than that. And their timelines actually coincide. Shem was alive during the time of Abraham.
So how does the verse 3, without father, without mother, without genealogy?
We'll get to that in a second. How does it translate? Right, this is the thing. It says, gonna get there in a second. On verse 3 it talks about the genealogy. But what I want to talk about first is King of Salem, which means King of Peace, and priest, El, God, El again, Elyon, God of the heights, on high, right? El Elyon, God on high, or the mighty one that resides on high. Okay, so El Elyon, and then Zadik, it's righteous. Melchizedek, my king is righteous. Yep. There's 1, 2, 3. Just ran out of battery. There's some batteries there. Can you change it for me? Two batteries, please. Just from the ones on the desk. Okay, technical difficulties. Alright, and then he goes into verse 3. So he gives you all the titles, right? This is the first part. He gives you all the titles. He's who he says he is, all the titles. And then he goes into his genealogy. Right? You have to understand that he's talking about his genealogy here. Why is he talking about his genealogy?
Yeshua's Melchizedek.
He's talking about Melchizedek. Right? This Melchizedek begins. This Melchizedek was the king of Salem, the king of peace, and priest of El Elyon, of the God who is on high. He met Abraham returning from the slaughter of the kings and blessed him. And Abraham appointed him a tenth, the tithe of everything. First, his name, his reputation, his title. Right? His name is not just his name. His reputation and title means king of righteousness, or the righteous. My king is righteous. And then also king of Salem, which means king of peace. So he's telling you about his title, his reputation. He's telling you about who he is, representing who he shows himself to be. And then he goes into his genealogy. And this is the part that people get hung up on. And this is why they assume that it's Yeshua, because he says here, can we read it again, verse 3?
Without father, without mother, without genealogy, having neither beginning of days nor end of day, but having been made like the son of Jehovah, remains a Kohen for all time.
Okay, so a few problems I have with the text right there in the understanding that this is Yeshua. It says, without father or mother. Well, let's talk about Yeshua's father.
Abba.
You said, Yeshua himself said, who's his father?
Abba.
Jehovah. Jehovah. Abba. It's his Abba. It's his dad, his father. He says, without mother. Who's Yeshua's mother?
Miriam.
Miriam.
Miriam's the mother, yes.
Says without genealogy. Well, we have two genealogies in the scriptures. Right in Matthew and one in Luke, right? One comes from the line of the kings. Right? The cursed line of the kings. The cursed genealogy of the kings. And the other one is from, surprise, surprise, Levitical Kohen lineage. Genealogy, right? From his mother's side. Right? Right, John the Baptist, Yochanan.
His cousin.
Yochanan was the son of a high priest. Yeah? Can we agree with that?
Yeah.
At least?
Yep.
Right? So he was therefore a high priest himself by lineage. His mother, Elizabeth, or Elisheva, was related with Mary, wasn't she?
Cousins.
Yeah.
Cousins or sisters? Cousins.
Cousins. Cousins? With Miriam. Now we know by Levitical law that they have to marry within the family, right? Except in this case, when we see Joseph coming, Joseph was from the line of Judah. Or Joseph. Right? Was from the line of Judah. Of the kings, right? As we said before. But what happens in the genealogy in Luke? He is now, after he marries Miriam, no longer part of the tribe of Judah. He is the son of Miriam's father. Right? So he crosses over to the Levitical priesthood. And in Yeshua, now we have both the Levitical priesthood, Kohen, and the line of the kings restored. Because the line of the kings was cursed. No king from the line of Judah could take the throne. But because Joseph crossed over to the Levitical priesthood, took on the house because they probably didn't have a firstborn male in that house. So the inheritance becomes now Joseph's, and therefore Joseph becomes part of the tribe of Levi, still maintaining his lineage of Judah, but under the covering, or his main covering is the line of Levi. So now you have Yeshua being a king and priest. Right? Yeshua coming and being a king and priest unto the order of.
I think you have to explain a bit about the daughters of Zelophehad.
That goes too long.
Yeah, but Tracy's a little bit.
Okay, there was a law that was passed on from the time of Moses where if a father didn't have a firstborn male son
Or any males.
In his house, right, the inheritance of that house would have to be passed on to a cousin or a brother or a sister or whatever. However, if he wanted to maintain that inheritance within his family, right, as the daughters of Zelophehad went up to Moses and asked for the inheritance of their father, right, and Moses gave them that, but they said you have to marry men from the tribes. And basically what happens is they lose their inheritance in their house, but they gain the inheritance of the house of the wife. Right? This is what happened in the book of Ruth. The whole book of Ruth is about this same process. Right? The kinsman redeemer, that's why the firstborn, the older brother, didn't want to take on the inheritance. Because that meant he lost his inheritance in his house for taking the inheritance that belonged to that family. He didn't lose his identity. He was still part of the tribe of Judah. But he took on the identity of the son of that family to remain a name for that family. Yeah? To keep a name for that family within the tribes of Israel. So the name thing is very important in the ancient world. You know, the continuation. We talked about that in the whole study of the role of the women. So this is no different. The reason why Joseph went over is for two reasons. One is because he's redeeming the kingship line that was cursed. No king shall ever sit in the throne again from this line. God said it, right? He cursed the line of the kings with Jehoiakim. Right? After Jehoiakim, the Babylonian exile, the line was cursed until the coming of Messiah. The only way to redeem that line is for it to become part of the Levitical line, because the Levites are not cursed. Only the king's line in Judah. Right? So that's why that happened then. So without genealogy, I think not. Yeshua has genealogy. And genealogy to spare.
So can I just add, it seems, the way all this works out, that Miriam didn't have any brothers. That's why when she married Joseph, Joseph became like an adopted son.
Yep. And if you look in the lineage, it's very interesting to find out that there was another one, another person that did the same thing earlier on. In the same genealogy, another person crossed over.
Rav.
Huh?
Rav.
No. No, no. Zerubbabel. I think it was Zerubbabel. Where's my Bible? I got the electronic one. So, anyway, it's not pertinent to this study, but if you look at the genealogies, have a look at both of them, and then you're going to find a lot of beautiful things there about who crossed over in the same way. And if you look at the issue with the daughters of Zelophehad, they're the first ones that begin the whole process of redemption. So it's through a woman that redemption came again, by the way, just reinforcing the previous study. Matthew 1.
Sorry, redemption came from?
Daughters of Zelophehad. Don't ask me to spell it. Nashon, both through Samson, so Boaz, through Ruth, Obed, David, Jehoshaphat, Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, Manasseh, Shealtiel. Yep. Zerubbabel. There it is. It is Zerubbabel. So Zerubbabel was from a different tribe, and then in the other lineage, you're going to see it in the lineage in Luke as well. He's the link between the two. You can check it out later. Zerubbabel also did the same thing as Joseph. So Yeshua has father, and he has a mother. Father, and he has a mother, and he has lineage. 2 lineages.
Just in case.
Just in case.
Wasn't enough.
Somebody wanted to dispute it?
Right, so
He's like, oh, they're gonna get this wrong. It's not like
he says he's got no beginnings of days. Whoa. What do the pagans celebrate on December? And we celebrate and we celebrate it on Sukkot usually, or Nisan 1.
his birthday.
Very debated topic. You know that he had a birthday,
Was obviously
so he had a beginning of days. Right? Even though he says, before Abraham was, I am. But we know when his beginning of days was, because he was a birthday. There was a birthday associated with it. So, let's continue reading. No end of life. Well, let me tell you what happened in Passover.
They're crucified.
Am I making some sense?
be interesting to see who actually fits into all these categories.
Yeah, we're gonna look at it in a second. No end of life. And it says, like. You know, it's like this. Like. The one.
Son of Jehovah.
The Son of God. Like the Son of God. Oh, of course he's like the Son of God. He's the Son of God, right? So why would the text say like the Son of God? It doesn't make sense. This is not him. He's another guy that is like him. Right? I mean, it's logical. Makes sense? So where do we get that it's Yeshua? He's like the Son of God. He
Can't be the same one.
I mean, come on. He's like the Son of God. And it says he remains a priest for all time. Remains a priest for all time. Didn't the scripture say that Yeshua became a priest? Unto the order of Melchizedek? You are a priest forever until the order of Melchizedek. So he had a beginning of that priesthood. When was the beginning of that priesthood?
Was the dove came down?
Was it?
I don't know, obviously not.
Obviously not.
Graham said it, I just said it.
Wasn't when he actually dies and the shredded section cut from the top to the bottom? And that's when that's spoken that he's praised for all. After he basically dies, gets crucified and dies.
He rises again.
I think it's a little bit earlier than that.
About 100 years old.
Is it when he said the scriptures are fulfilled?
Nope.
When he's in
When
Jerusalem?
John the Baptist died,
Almost.
when he was buried.
No, when he said, I'm not worthy of the sandals.
Luke 7.
Look at 7.
Look, my son.
My son.
Danielson.
We'll start with verse 18.
Luke 7:18.
Mm-hmm.
Matthew. Come on.
And we're going to read up to
7:18.
I thought so. When
What is it, 18?
two.
And the taught ones of Yohanan reported to him about all this. But we don't know when the end is.
okay, so up to verse 23.
And the taught ones of Yohanan reported to him about all this, and Yohanan, calling two of his taught ones near, sent to Yeshua, saying, Are you the coming one, or should we look for another? And coming to him, the men said, Yohanan the Immerser has sent us to you, saying, Are you the coming one, or should we look for another? And in the same hour he healed many of diseases and afflictions and wicked spirits, and he gave sight to many blind ones. And Yeshua answering said to them, Go, report to Yohanan what you have seen and heard. Blind receive sight, lame do walk, lepers are cleansed, deaf do hear, dead are raised, and the good news is brought to the poor. And blessed is he who shall not stumble in me.
Okay. Now let's go to John 3. Now look at start verse 30. And we're going to read to verse 35.
It is right for him to increase, but me to decrease. He who comes from above is over all. He who is from the earth is of the earth and speaks of the earth. He who comes from the heavens is over all. And what he has seen and heard, that he witnesses, and no one receives his witness. He who receives his witness has put a seal that Elohim is true. For he whom Elohim has sent speaks the word of Elohim. For Elohim does not give the Ruach by measure. The Father loves the Son, and has given all into his hand.
Right. So this is Yohanan speaking. It says, He must increase and I must decrease. Right? This is the change of the priesthood. This is Yohanan making what's it called? A declaration that Yeshua is the next priest. Does it make sense so far?
Was that before or after the baptism?
That's after the baptism. So, when we're looking at, let's go back to Hebrews 7. So, Yeshua became a priest unto the order of Melchizedek the moment John the Baptist died, basically. But his declaration was there in John chapter 3 about the coming of the new priest. Yep. And then in chapter 7 he had some doubts. Luke chapter 7 he had some doubts. So he sent his disciples to make sure that Messiah, Yeshua, was the actual one, the one to come. The Mashiach, the Yid, but also the priest that was to succeed him. Yeah? Make sense? So now when we come to this Melchizedek, let's continue reading verse 4. Consider how great Melchizedek was. Even the patriarch Abraham gave him the first tenth of the plunder. Now the law commands the sons of Levi, who became priests, to collect a tenth from the people. This is their brothers, even though they are descendants of Abraham. But Melchizedek, who did not trace his descendants from Levi, here we go. Okay, so this is the point. Look at that. So the Kohen or the Levites
Hebrews 7.
Hebrews 7.
Yeah. They all come from Levi. Melchizedek does not. Okay, yet he acts like a priest. In fact, it says of Messiah, you are a Kohen, a priest, a high priest. You are a Kohen according to the order of Melchizedek. You are a Kohen. The word here is Kohen. Right? You are a Kohen until the order of Melchizedek. So Yeshua is brought in, even though he had descendancy from his mother, he was not a full priest, right? Because his father was a tribe of Judah, right? And although that was allowed, he could not be part of the temple service because he was not a priest by lineage. Yeshua was not a priest by lineage. He was not a Kohen by lineage, by direct lineage from both sides. Right? The Kohen had to be married within the Kohen to produce a child that would serve as a high priest. You couldn't have a mix of tribes as a high priest. But under this order of Melchizedek, Yeshua becomes a Kohen. Under the order of Melchizedek, Yeshua can become a Kohen forever. So the fact that he's a Melchizedek, this is the point that I want to make. The Melchizedek is a title or a proclamation or something that gives you an entitlement to become a priest, even though you don't have the lineage of the priesthood. Right? And we're going to talk about this understanding of the father and the mother and all that sort of stuff. But let's concentrate on this part. Yeshua became a Kohen. So he is a high priest. Yes, a Kohen. Because of the order of Melchizedek. Because of this right. The right of Melech Tzaddik. Of a king who is righteous. Right? So then, because of a kingship anointing and the righteousness, he can become a Kohen. By God's decree, obviously. Right? So, let's look at it as a right, if you like. Right? Like a rite of passage. Then it's no longer a separate order to what God already instated. It's part of the same. Yeah? God didn't instate a new greater priesthood. I'm above all of you, right? I'm greater because I'm Melchizedek. You Kohanim. No. He became a Kohen. That's what the scripture says. He became a Kohen. A high priest. He does the same things as any other high priest. Right? But he comes in through the order of Melchizedek. Because he doesn't have the lineage that is required to be part of that. So then we can look back and say, well, who else became a priest who didn't have lineage of priesthood? David? Right? Perfect example, David. He ate of the showbread that was only allowed for the high priest, for the priesthood, for the Kohanims. They were the only ones that could eat the showbread. How did he enter into that? Because he was a king of righteousness. God said, he's a man after my own heart. Right? God decreed that he could do it. because of that, he was a Kohen. He became priest. And he had the right. Okay? So it's not something out of this world. Now let's deal with the understanding of lineage, you know, and father and mother and all this stuff. Yeah.
Would it also be the case that because of that, what you just explained, that last week we also briefly touched that the way in which the priesthood was actually, that was not accepted, or they weren't accepting, so, or they weren't practicing the right priesthood, so therefore they would not accept Yeshua.
Yeah. So the guys that had the priesthood at the time of Messiah had bought their priesthood from the Romans.
Yes.
They were not the righteous high priest.
So they would not allow, obviously, this
No,
priesthood.
of course not, because they were having their own parties. So.
Yeah.
But you don't want to shake it up with the Romans. They wouldn't accept it. But they knew it was there.
Yep.
Now Yeshua is Kohen Hagadol, the high priest. So it says here he was without father or mother or genealogy, without beginning of days or end of life. When did the right, we're gonna call it a right. Right? When did the right of the Melchizedek begin? What did it begin? Can anybody tell me when did the right of Melchizedek begin? Okay. Let's look at it this way. When was where's the lineage of Melchizedek? Who was the first Melchizedek?
We just touched it before. Shem.
Shem? That's the first mention, but is he the first Melchizedek? Do we know? Is there a genealogy? All the sons of Shem have been promised to become Melchizedeks? Is there a genealogy of Melchizedek? Yes or no? You know, the Kohanim, the high priests, they became high priests because of their genealogy, right? Because they were born from Aaron, the sons of Aaron.
Enoch.
No, I'm talking about the sons of Aaron. They were Kohen, right? Now, who's Melchizedek's son of? Who are the Melchizedeks? Well, that's if we accept Shem. We're talking about just Melchizedek as a title. Does Melchizedek have a beginning? No. We don't know who the first Melchizedek is, because it's an order that God has the right to appoint. Right? Because when Melchizedek comes the high priest. So, who appoints the Melchizedek? God. Well, there's no lineage. It's not a lineage thing. No lineage. No lineage. Well, guess what that means? No father, no mother. Is it making sense?
Daddy, why would you skip the
No beginning of days. When did the Melchizedek order begin? Can anybody tell me? We don't know. I mean, we know there was a Melchizedek during the time of Abraham, but we don't know. No beginning. When is the order going to end? Can anybody tell me when Messiah's orders. And he's a priest for how long? For some time?
Forever.
Forever. So no end. Yep. And like the Son of God. Like the Son of God. We were created in His image according to His likeness to represent Him. We're ambassadors on the earth, right? So every priesthood, every man that has been a Melchizedek in history has been like the Son of God as a representation of the Son of God. So you see, Melchizedek is not a person per se, but it's a title. It's a proclamation that God makes through His prophets, through His priests, on some people that He chooses, who are not necessarily of the lineage of the Kohen or of the Levites. Right? So in essence, they couldn't take the office of the Levite or prophet, or Kohen. But God says, no, they are my priests. Even though they don't have the lineage, no, these guys are my priests. That's Melchizedek. That's a Melchizedek. Right? The other thing I would say, this is personal understanding, is the first part. The title in itself tells you he's a king. Right? In another place, he calls him an Adon, or a lord, or a master. Right? So these guys are important. They're not just your run-of-the-mill guys, not everyday guy. These guys are ruling other people. They have an army, right? So when people say, "Oh, I'm one of the Melchizedeks," I'm from the order of Melchizedek. I'm a priest of Melchizedek. My answer is, where's your army? Right? Because if you're a Melchi, if you're a Malach, if you're a king, where's your army? They laugh at me. But it's true. If you're a king, where's your army? Where's your kingdom? Right? So let's get that out of the way. The Melchizedek priesthood has to do with the right to become a Kohen, the right to become a high priest. So are we there yet? No. We are going to become a kingdom of priests to our God. A kingdom of priests. Kings and priests. Not kings and priests, a kingdom of priests. A kingdom of Melchizedeks. Right? Because by decree of Messiah, when he returns, he makes some to be Levites, some to be Melchizedeks. Even though they don't have the Kohen lineage, he makes some of us to be priests. In fact, his kingdom is a kingdom of priests. Right? That's his original idea. Right? When they came out of Egypt, he was appointing the firstborn of every family to be a priest within the house. Right? A kingdom of priests. Was everybody a priest? No, the firstborn of every house was a priest. Right? If everybody's a priest, who do we minister to? One another? I mean, yeah, that can work. In Spanish we say, there's many prince and not enough Indians. What's it called? Many chiefs and not enough Indians.
Too many chiefs, not enough Indians.
Too many cooks.
Right? If we're all
Western maybe.
If we're all Melchizedek now, right now, we should be in heaven now. We should be taken up. I mean, there's nothing else. Right? So my position is we're not Melchizedek. We're not there yet. We're on our way. become that. But there's no proclamation being done over us. There's no anointing as far as I know. Right? Now, are there some people who are called to the priesthood right now to take care of the priesthood things, if you like? We're going to look at that in a second. We'll go to Ephesians 4. I'm going to read verse 12. Yep, don't be shy.
For the perfecting of the Kohanim, to work the service and building up of the body of Hamashiach.
Right, and we're reading from the previous verses where it says, when he ascended.
So that was 4:12.
8.
That 9. That is why it says, when he went up on high, he led captivity captive, and he gave gifts to men. But what does he went up mean? Except that he also first went down into the lower parts of the earth. He who went down is also the one who went up, far above all the heavens, to feed all. And he himself gave someone as missionaries, and some Neblim, and some evangelists. Or this is where it's about the teachers and the apostles. This is a bit.
Yep.
Okay. Evangelists and some of the shepherds and teachers, for the perfecting of the Kohanim, to work the service of building of the body of Mashiach.
Right. So, when he ascended, he gave gifts to men. And he proclaimed, basically, gave a proclamation that some were to become apostles and messengers, some to become prophets or the mouthpiece, some were to become evangelists or lawyers of the Torah, some to become shepherds of the people, all teachers, right? Kai, teachers. So even teachers. And it says to equip his people for works of service, so that the body of Christ might be built up until we all reach unity in faith and in the knowledge of the Son of God, and become mature. Right, so we need to become mature before we can take on the priesthood. We're children. Right, now he gave gifts. He didn't give priesthood, he gave gifts. Now these gifts act in ways similar to priesthood, right? The apostles, the prophets, the evangelists, we're all acting in a similar role to the priest in the sense of training and preparing the bride, right? He says the bride made herself ready. So this is what these gifts are for, to make the bride ready. Are we priests there? No, we're not priests, really. Not by lineage anyway. We're not Melchizedek's yet. Because Messiah didn't proclaim that we are going to be those priests. You know, when he comes back, he will set up some to be Levites. He will set up the, and he's our priest forever. So why are we taking on that title? It's not ours to take. So what are we doing? We are those things that he said. We are gifts. Gifts to one another. Gifts for the preparation of the bride, for the building up of the body. Right? For us to make ourselves ready to grow up, to mature. So grow up already. Stop calling yourselves names. I mean, what's the big deal? Doesn't matter what you are. Just continue walking, obeying the Torah. Right? That's what the Messiah says. If you love me, keep my commandments. Right? But people get caught up in this priesthood thing, and they never grow up. They never mature because they're caught up in these things thinking, oh, I'm the Melchizedek. Some people think that they're 144,000. Really? Are you a virgin? You know, they look at me. Huh?
We've had like 3 of the 144,000.
Ah, yeah, we had 3 of the 144,000.
3. Is it 4,000 to come yet?
No, not really. You know, but somebody prophesied over me that I'm 144,000. Really? That prophet should be stoned.
He probably was.
Anyway, you know, we need to leave these childhood things, right? These are childish games that people play because they want to make themselves look better, more important than someone else. They want to, you know, put themselves above someone else, and you know, look at me, right? I'm the tall guy in the room. That's all childishness. That all has to be put away from us. You know, we have to grow up. You know, it doesn't matter what you think you are. Accept the fact that you're a gift to the congregation. You have your talents, the things that you bring to the pot. And let's move on. Let's minister the gifts to one another, the way the Father wants it, in order. And let's allow ourselves to grow up, to grow strong, to mature, instead of being plagued by these concepts of, oh, I'm you know, oh, I did a DNA test, and the DNA test told me that I'm. Who cares? Honestly, who cares? Who cares what you are? You know. Yeah, I mean, it's nice to look at those things. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy looking at those things of genealogy as much as the other guy. But when it comes right down to who we are saved by grace. There's nothing good in us. That's why he had to die. Right? Who are you kidding? Who are we kidding? We all have to come through Messiah, through his blood. That means there's nothing great about you, so don't exalt yourself. You know, don't put yourself above your brothers, because you're not better than anyone else. You know, we're all here muddling our way through life, trying to find out what's true and what's not. No, but sometimes we have this idea that, oh, the guy in front, he's so holy. No, he's probably the worst out of all of you. I'm probably worse than most of you. Yeah. You know? Except no, not true at all. You know? But let's be honest, we know what goes inside our hearts, right? We know what happens when no one's looking. We know where our mind goes. So let's bring it down to the earth, right? Let's bring it down. We're all at the same plane level. You know, no one's greater than anyone else. There is a priesthood belongs to Messiah at the moment. Yeah? There are priests on the earth who are from lineage, yes. You know, we have the Kohanim, they're still on the earth, and we have Levites who are still on the earth, but their priesthood is being rescinded for the time being. Should we honor them for that? By all means, they're descendants of Aaron. You know, we give them the importance that they have, but beyond that, they're men. They're just like us, no different. You know, is a shepherd, a pastor, more important than someone sitting in the front row or the back row? No. Not at all. You know? Well, I'm a prophet of the Lord. Thus says the Lord. Get off it. Really? Please. I got a bag full of stones. You want to see it?
You're going to get to see you make it quickly?
It's laughable, but it's true. You know? I mean, okay, so you're a prophet. Great, minister your gift. Be done with it. I mean, what do you need to put your voice and put your chest out? You know? And some others, no, I'm an apostle, you know. Call me apostle. Don't call me pastor. Yeah. Go home. Read your Bible. as Brother Zach says. Right? It's a problem that is not just in Christianity, but in every religion in the world. It's a problem that plagues the Messianic world as well, the Hebrew roots. It's a problem that humans have. So I call it individualism versus bodyism. Right? We are a body. We work as one. We work together. Right? No one exalting themselves greater than anybody else. Right? We are a body, like cells in a body. Are we all the same? No. Are we all supposed to be the same? No. No. Paul tells us that. We all belong to the priestly body of Messiah. Yep. As a group, as a whole, we are the priestly body of Messiah. Yep. Absolutely. Right now, we are the priestly body of Messiah. We are his representatives on earth. You know, when people come to see us, they expect to see Messiah. And yes, we are acting as the priestly body of Messiah on the earth. Are we priests yet? No. Are we there yet? No. I don't think so anyway. That's my take on it. You can disagree with it. Hebrews 7, 11 to 17. The previous verses, if you don't read them, you can read them now.
Truly then, if perfection were through the Levitical kahuna, for under it the people were given the Torah, why was there still need for another Kohen to arise according to the order of Melchizedek, and not be called according to the order of Aaron? For the kahuna being changed of necessity, there also takes place a change of law, and he of whom this is said belongs to another tribe, from which no one has attended at the altar. For it is perfectly clear that Adon arose from Yehuda, a tribe about which Moshe never spoke of concerning kahuna. And this is clearer still, if another Kohen arises in the likeness of Melchizedek, who has become not according to the law of fleshly command, but according to the power of an endless high. For he witnesses, you are a Kohen forever, according to the order of Melchizedek.
Right. Oh, brother. I thought the law hadn't changed. What's going on? What's going on here? Can anybody put me out of my misery? The law has changed. That's what it says there. What? So we got a new law? Is that what that means? Feel free to interject. What do you guys think of this verse? Wow, very quiet.
I don't think it's got anything to do with the law.
Okay, go on.
I think it's got to do with the shifting order of the lineage beforehand.
Yep.
So law against lineages doesn't have the same appeal.
Yeah, but here it talks about the law, right? It says that when the priesthood changes, the law has to change too. Is that right? Is that what I'm understanding?
Who became not according to the law of fleshly command, but according to the power of the endless high. That prophet, right?
Life.
Endless life. So it's a spiritual change, it's not a physical change.
The power of an indestructible life. Okay. Anyone else?
before it says, and if it is clear still, if another Kohen, another priest arises in the likeness of Melchizedek, who has become not according to the law, so there is a direct take of the likeness. Another priest,
Kohen.
Yep. In the likeness of Melchizedek.
Yep. What further need was there for another Kohen to rise according to the order of Melchizedek and not be designated according to the of Aaron? For when the priesthood is changed of necessity, there takes place a change of law also, a change of the law. Change of the law, verse 12. Oh. What happened in verse 12 then?
The ceremonial laws?
Ceremonial laws, no such thing in there?
I knew that part.
Just testing.
Just testing, yeah. Okay, so the law has changed. Can we accept that the law has changed regarding the priesthood?
Did you look it up in the Greek?
Yeah. It says the same thing. Can we accept that the law has changed according to the priesthood? In regards to the priesthood?
Well, beforehand there used to be a priest that used to come in Yom Kippur and atone for the rest of the sins.
Yep.
Through Yeshua.
So before we have the law concerning the Levites,
Yep.
who are Kohen,
Yep.
right?
And they used to go
By-
to Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur.
Right? By lineage. So this is one law, Levites according to lineage. Now we have another law of a Kohen by lineage,
No,
made from
godly
the Melchizedek.
that's a godly appointed
Yeah,
Kohen.
from the Melchizedek with no lineage. Has the law changed? Absolutely. It's changed from this law to that law. So we're not under this part of the law, we're under that part of the law. Has the law as a whole changed?
No, just this
No, absolutely not. Is this a new law? No, it's always been there. Is this a new law? No, it's always been there. But the law has changed from this law to that law. Right? If you have a man, you have a law for the man. But if you have a woman, she's got another law for the woman. Men don't have to deal with nidar, do they? Nidar, the period. Right?
Yeah, they do.
Look at that.
Don't go there, mate. You're outnumbered.
That's only if they are Z. If they are Z, all the laws apply to them. Anyway. Especially the one for study. Right? Men don't have to deal with nidar. Well, to a point, right? That's for the woman.
That's what you meant. To a point.
Right? Men don't have to deal with the laws of childbirth. To a point. That's the woman. She has to be separated for a month or 2 months, depending on whether it was male or female. Right? Women don't have to deal with the laws regarding
Circumcision.
men. Circumcision, right? One of them. His brother is going through it now. Right? There's laws for the priests, the Kohens, right? Women and men who are not part of the priesthood don't need to worry about those laws. They're specific for the Kohens, so they're specific for the Levites, yeah? So there was a law that was in office during the time of Messiah right? Where Yochanan was part of this, John the Baptist. Yochanan was part of this law. When he died, he proclaimed the Messiah was taking that office. But Messiah is not from this lineage order, so he is from this order of Melchizedek. So because the lineage changed, or the order changed from the Levite Kohen to the Kohen from Melchizedek, there is a change in the law. Yeah? I haven't got a problem with this changing of the law. It doesn't mean the law was done away. It doesn't mean the whole law has changed. It just means the law of the priesthood that pertains to the priesthood itself has changed from being this part of the law to that part of the law. Different clauses within the same law. Right? The whole volume of the law hasn't changed. We're just applying different parts of the law to that office.
Perhaps, would it be then right to say that for lessen the impact when we use the word law, that used to apply, but then that got deactivated and this became active?
Yeah. But all of that was always there.
Yeah. So it was being, one got deactivated, the other got activated.
Yeah. Temporarily. Because when Messiah comes back, this gets reactivated again.
Yep.
And this is going to be in part. So they're both going to be active at the same time. So guess what? This law that has been deactivated is coming back. It's going to be reactivated.
They'll both be active.
Yep. So, does that make sense? Did I lose anybody in that? No? So people get caught up in these little things and interpretations that go nowhere. And they make a doctrine out of it that doesn't exist.
How does that at the moment, without Yehovah sending his son Yeshua, second time round, how does that sit with our brothers from Judah?
They don't have understanding of that. They're still on this.
They're still on that, and that they consider this.
No, they haven't.
The blindfold needs to come off.
Yeah. Why did the office change? Anybody answer that one? Why did the office of the priesthood change?
To fulfill all prophecies, he would fulfill every single prophecy that was written.
We read that the Levites, the order of the Levites could not give perfection, right?
Yep.
We read it before.
Yes.
But there was of necessity that the order changed, or the law changed, so that we could accommodate for the Son of God, Messiah, right?
Yep.
But there's something more to that. There was a need for that order to change, for the priesthood order to change. And we're going to read 1 Corinthians 7:39. First Corinthians 7:39.
A wife is bound by law for as long as her husband lives. But if her husband is dead, she's free to be married to whomever she desires, only in the Lord.
Okay. So, it says the wife is bound to the husband, right? As long as he lives. Yep. But if the husband dies, the wife is free from the law of the husband. Yep.
What if she hasn't given any sons to her? Or children?
He's lost.
Doesn't she marry his brothers?
Yep. If he's got brothers. And they give inheritance. But in this case, let's put the two houses here. House of Judah, house of Israel, Ephraim, right? for Joseph. They're all synonymous. The house of Israel and the house of Judah. Well, the house of Israel was divorced. Right? God said He gave her a certificate of divorce. So what was left? The house of Judah. Right? God was the husband. I put God on this side. It's the husband. God, Jehovah. He is the husband. Now, we know from the Jewish writings that when we're talking about the priesthood, the Kohanim and the Levites, that it's almost like a marriage thing that God has with them. They're like the bride kind of thing. They're the representatives of God on earth, but there's always this marriage relationship. The closeness that the high priests had with God was not the same closeness that the Levites had with God, but the Levites had a closeness with the Aaronic priesthood that the people didn't have with them, and so on and so forth. So we have these levels of marriage covenant type of levels coming down. But we know that when the time of Messiah came, this nation, the northern kingdom, had been dispersed and sent out. Basically divorced. So the only thing that was left was Judah. Now the priesthood is the closest or the closest bond representing the bride. So the priesthood was the bond to God. Right? Through the priest, you went to God. Yeah? That's why the high priest would go in on behalf of the people on Yom Kippur. So the priesthood is the bond to God. What happens is that Israel was divorced, the northern kingdom, but because of the promises of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, God kept Judah, even though Judah was unfaithful. And He says that Judah was unfaithful. She committed whoring, just as Israel did. She was no better. But God wouldn't divorce Judah because He had a promise to keep to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. Right? So they became the oracles of God, the ones that kept the oracles of God, because God wouldn't divorce them. Because of that promise that He made to those amazing men. But the priesthood was the direct representation of that marriage covenant that they made. Yep. Now what happened is that Yeshua came as the husband. God in the flesh, the husband came in the flesh and dwelt among His people. But His people rejected Him, right? And handed Him over to the pagans. And what happened? He died. What happens when the husband dies?
The wife is free to remarry.
The wife becomes
A widow.
a widow.
She can't remarry again.
She is free from the law of the husband. Right? She's no longer bound to the husband because he's dead. So there's no longer a need for a priesthood. Understand? There's no longer a need for a priesthood because the husband is dead. Dead. The husband is dead.
So when he does come back, he's going to marry her, therefore the priesthood's going to be reinstated.
That's where we're going. What's the marriage supper of the Lamb? So we got Ruth Naomi and Boaz. Yep?
Yep.
Which one is the kinsman redeemer? Boaz. Type of Yeshua. Who's Ruth?
The Moabite.
The Moabite.
She wasn't even a Jew.
Comes from the nations. Right? She was sent out to the nations. A Moabite. Who's Naomi?
The mother-in-law.
The widow. And we got the same picture. Who's Messiah coming for? He's coming for the bride. Northern Kingdom Israel. What did he say when he came? I did not come except for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. The house of Israel. Not the house of Judah, the house of Israel. Why? Because the husband had to die and Judah became a widow. It is her land. Of course, we know it's Brother Judah's land. It belongs to him. The parable of the two sons. The father says, all I have is yours. It's yours. We know. Brother Judah, we know. The house is yours. But Messiah Yeshua came for us, for the lost sheep of the house of Israel, that he had scattered all throughout the world. And he's bringing them back. Do we need a priesthood at the moment?
No.
No, we can't have a priesthood because there is no marriage
Taking place.
until the wedding of the Lamb. When all things will be restored. When the kingdom is restored, as the apostles asked him, when will the kingdom be restored? At this time?
No, not really.
Right? That was the question, wasn't it? The office changed because the husband died. Right? So according to the Levitical priesthood and all that had to change. So we have now in the heavens a priest direct in front of the Father who deals with the Father on our behalf because we are betrothed to him. Right? We're not married yet, but we are betrothed to him. So he is the one that intercedes. It says that in the scriptures. He intercedes. On our behalf before the Father. He's a priest unto the order of Melchizedek because he doesn't need the lineage. If he needed the lineage, he would have to be part of this. And then he wouldn't have had to die. And that means Israel will be out forever. But because he died, we no longer need this priesthood until we're married again. So meanwhile, he is a priest until the order of Melchizedek, which is a heavenly order, which is a decree that comes from the Father himself. It's a heavenly title. So he's our priest who intercedes before the Father, not according to men, but according to an indestructible life, a life that is eternal. Why? Because we can't have a priesthood on earth. Because the husband has died, he's dead. Yes, he rose again, but he rose again free of his wife. The wife is a widow. Judah is a widow. And he's coming back for the second time to marry us again. To build a kingdom. To become our husband again.
So in other words, Yeshua's coming to be able to fulfill what was his in the reign of priesthood.
Yeah. So I'm going to put two Bible verses there. You can look them up later. Just write them down. Or you can refer to the video. Revelations 19, 7 to 9, and 21, 1 to 5. These are the two verses that deal with the wedding feast of the Lamb, the bride and the wedding. Isaiah 54, verse 1 to 10. It's the one that we're talking about Judah becoming a widow. So Isaiah. So you can read these verses after if you like. I'm not going to go through them. Basically paraphrase them. 1 to 10. So that's about the widow, and it comes right after the passage of the suffering Messiah, which is Isaiah 53. Right? So Isaiah 53 is the one about Messiah dying and suffering, and then after that he comes up with that one. He talks about Judah being a widow. Northern Kingdom divorce, Jeremiah 3:8. Okay. The only thing I want to deal with now, moving forward, is are we still bound to the law? Because if the husband is dead, we're no longer under the law of the husband, then has the law been taken away?
No.
No. Yes or no?
No.
The law of the husband is removed. That's what the scripture says.
Yeah, but we shouldn't discard that the law itself, as we understand the law, the command has...
It's the law of the kingdom, right? The law of the husband. The law of the husband has been removed from us in the sense we don't have to keep it. We don't have to. It's not binding, right? Bond. The wife is bound to the husband. It's not binding on us to keep the law, right? It's not binding on us. But it says, if you love me,
You will keep my commandments.
so there's a different level. We are betrothed to him, right? When we become betrothed, the husband says, if you drink of this cup, we shall be married, like Yeshua did with his disciples, right? If you drink of this cup, it's the cup of the new covenant in my blood, right? If you drink this cup, we shall be married. Then if we drink of that cup, we are betrothed. Now, a betrothed person acts the same way as a married person, except they're not bound yet. Yeah? They're betrothed. But out of love, they still do what they should be doing. They keep themselves pure. They take mikvahs. They beautify themselves for their husbands to be. Yeah? They make everything ready. They have the, what is it called? The dowry prepared, ready to go. They're getting themselves ready for the wedding supper, right? For the wedding, when the husband returns after a long time of building a new house, and yeah, when the ceremony of consummation comes. Do they have to keep the law? No. Do they have to take showers while the husband is not there? Do they have to do their hair? Prepare themselves?
Yeah.
Do they have to worry about all of that stuff? They don't have to do anything.
They do it because of love.
Right? The husband sends them gifts. Do they have to do anything with that? They can just go to the $2 market and sell them. And whatever, buy the latest iPad or whatever. No, they don't have to do it. Right? We don't keep the law because we have to. We keep the law because we love Him. That's the difference, right? If you think this is just a religious thing of observance, right? If we do this because, well, the law says we have to do this, right? We have to wear tzitzit. That's what the law says. We're not better than the Jews. If we do this because, well, I just feel that this is what I want to do with my life, and that's where I'm going, because the pastor preached this, and it resonated with my heart, right? You're completely lost on both sides.
More than one way.
Right? This is about love. Do you love God with all your heart, mind, and soul, as He said? Right? Do you love Messiah with all that? Then there is nothing else. I mean, nothing can take that place. Right? No politics, no Judaism, things on your head. Right? Nothing should take the place that belongs to Messiah. That's idolatry. It's whoring, according to Scripture. Right? Whoring is bound to marriage. Okay, so we're not married, we're betrothed. Did you know that a betrothed person is considered as a married person?
Case of Miriam, for example.
Yep. Miriam had to be divorced, even though they weren't married. She had to receive a certificate of divorce, basically, because she was betrothed. So there was no difference to being married or not being married, except for the wedding ceremony. So let's not play games with our Messiah, right? Either we're in because of love, or go back to the world. Go and live it up. I mean, you're losing time. You're wasting your time. Absolutely. You're doing nothing. You're being a waste of time. You're wasting my time. You're wasting this congregation's time. You're wasting God's time. Because you're not in it because of love. You're in it because you want to have something that makes you feel like you're doing something. Right? You want to make yourself feel better, in a way. But this is not about you making yourself feel better. It's about Him. It's about Messiah. So, we're talking about love. Not about selfishness. Religion makes you selfish. Knowing Messiah makes you love Him. And it gives you life. If it's not a delight to do His will, and you can't wait to do it the way He likes it, right? Prepare that cake the best way you can, because that's how He likes it, right? As a bride prepares for her bridegroom, she will call her mother-in-law to be and say, what's his best, most favorite dish, Next time I see him, I'm going to make him that, because, can you come and teach me when he's not looking, right? Get in with the in-laws, try to find out what's the best thing he likes or she likes. That's what courtship is about, finding out what each other like and don't like, right? If that's not the case with you and Messiah, you've lost it. You have no idea what you're doing. You're just another religious person in this world. Just doing religious things for the sake of making yourself feel better. It's all about you. You. And when there's more time, you. And it's so selfish. It's got nothing to do with Him. You must re-examine your relationship with Him, what we were talking about before. But Messiah said, remember my bride, my beloved, keep the Sabbath free. Do all you need to do the other 6 days, but the 7th day is for us. I am coming to see you. I am Jehovah, your Elohim. You're strong one. You're mighty one. You say, I'm yours. I am yours. I'm not someone else's, I'm yours. I'm coming to meet with you. Keep that day for me, for us too. It's a date night. Right, but you can't wait to get out of it. You can't wait to go and run off with your other boyfriends, girlfriends. Right? Or you just don't show up at all. Today I don't feel like doing Shabbat, that thing. I got better things to do today. Date night with the King of Kings, the Messiah. Date night with the God who created the whole universe and bow down his knee to come down and be with you. A lowly, sinful person on this earth. And he said he would be here with us. But, I got better things to do today. I might go and do something else. Righteous causes, whatever. Whatever you want to call it.
Fun
You're missing a date with your Messiah. You're missing a date with the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, to go and be
Part of the world.
with your boyfriends and girlfriends. Really, that's what it is. You're whoring because you are betrothed. And your attention on that day should be for him and him alone and nothing else. Oh, but the law was made for man and not man for the law. Think about that statement. The law was made for man to keep. Not man to decide when to keep the law. It's easy to change that and make it sound like, oh, I can do whatever I want, right? But think about it. That scripture's not telling you can go and do whatever you think is good for you. That scripture's telling you, you were made for the law. The law was made for man. It was made for us, to keep us safe, to protect us, to guide us, to give us life. We weren't made for the law, but the law was made for us. So it's not about what I want, it's about what the law says I need to do. You are being courted by the God of the universe on your betrothed time. Are you going to respond? Are you going to take it seriously? Or are you just going to do the religious thing and go home and be the same next week and continue in your merry way? We all know that marriage is not to be taken lightly, right? It's the most important decision of your life, besides accepting Messiah, right? That's what we tell our children. But when we come to Shabbat, when we come to the things Messiah wants, whatever. Easy road. Whatever comes easy, that's where we'll go. I'm not saying that people in this congregation do that. But I know there's people all over the place that are doing all kinds of weird, wonderful things in the name of God, but they're breaking the most basic of commands. The fourth commandment begins with remember. It's like God knew that we would forget. God knew that we wouldn't take the time to understand what that meant. It's the only commandment that He says remember. Think about that. Now for some positive stuff. Malachi 2, you can read it all at home. It's all about the millennial priesthood. So, Malachi or Malchi, Melchizedek. Who is Melchizedek? I don't have it. Malachi, Melchi.
King.
Yep. My king. Malachi chapter 2. It's all of it. Talks about the millennial reign of Messiah. And read up to chapter 3, verse 1. That's your homework for next week. The scripture says the Spirit and the bride say, come. Even so, Lord Yeshua, come. The Spirit and the bride say, come. Once you read those, you're going to see the whole process. He's coming again. There's no doubt about that. And he's coming for a bride that's made herself ready. Not a priesthood. He's not coming for a priest. Right? He's got many of those guys. He doesn't need any more priesthood. He doesn't need kings. And if we're all kings, what are we going to rule over? Right? If we're all kings, what are we going to rule over? Right? Ourselves, really, because if we're all priests, we don't need any more priests. We don't need a Messiah either. Right? Because he's our high priest. There will be a time when Messiah will set out new priesthood, and he will set out new kings upon the earth, or the new earth. How that's going to work, we don't know. But one thing we know, he's coming back for a bride that is faithful to the commandments, not because she has to, but because she loves. And when that time comes, it says the bride has made herself ready. So we gotta grow up, guys. We gotta make ourselves ready. Make sure that we're got all the attire ready to go. As Passover comes close, guys, boys, get yourselves ready. We got the next batch coming through now. Awesome. Alright, let's pray. Avinu Malkeinu, our Father, our King, we thank you for your love, for your mercy, for Messiah, who is our high priest, according to the order of Melchizedek. Father, we pray for your blessing on this congregation and on every congregation of our brothers and sisters around the world that have kept the Shabbat. May your love and mercy abound to all your children, wherever they are, in whatever place they are in their walk, that you would anoint us all and bring us into unity. Unity of mind, unity in one body. Father, I pray that you will bless those who couldn't be with us today. Wherever they are, that your blessings will be overabundant on their lives and in every aspect. Father, that you be protecting us all and taking care of us until the return of our bridegroom Messiah. And what a feast it'll be when we're all together. Father, we can't wait. We say together with the Spirit, come. Come soon. Return to us. We are your beloved. Father, help us to keep the commandments in love, not out of duty, not out of our religious spirit of observance, but out of truth and out of our heart that is surrendered to the love of the bridegroom, our Messiah. Father, help us to understand what that means. Father, we commit ourselves into your hands as we come out of this holy time into the normal time again. May your blessing carry on through this week until we see you again next Shabbat, when we come together in your presence. Father, we ask that your ears will still be tuned to our prayers as we come together. In Yeshua's name.
Amen. Amen.
The nights about Purim on Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Purim Tuesday night.
Purim Tuesday night, perhaps.
Yep.